You know that feeling, right? You see a spot in your home, maybe a sunny windowsill, and that little urge, this idea to nurture something green, pops into your head. A
Mhm.
plant. That's it. But then almost immediately the question starts swirling. What kind of plant would even work there? Am
Right.
I just setting it up for failure? And the big one, how do I actually keep it thriving? How do I not kill it?
It's a very, very common entry point into gardening, that whole
Yeah.
experience, that initial desire, to connect with nature, even in a small way. It quickly brings up the need for practical information and guidance.
Exactly. And that's pretty much the focus of our deep dive today. We're looking at a really interesting scenario. Imagine trying to design a gardening product for a massive platform like Meta,
Okay.
specifically for the Indian mobile market. And our source for this, it actually comes from a candidate's response during a product design interview.
Ah, interesting. What makes this so valuable, I think, is how it forces us to pinpoint the core needs of users in a very specific situation.
Right.
Even though it's, a hypothetical task for a big tech company, the way this candidate approached it, it reveals these fundamental challenges and potential solutions, things that anyone who's ever thought about planting a seed can probably relate to.
Precisely. So, our mission here is really to extract those key insights. We want to see how someone thinking from a product design angle identifies what gardeners truly struggle with,
Hmm.
and how a platform could potentially bridge that gap between wanting to grow something and actually seeing your plants flourish.
Yeah.
So whether you're totally digital or just curious about growing a few herbs, there's a lot to learn about understanding user needs from this example.
Okay, so in this scenario, the candidate,
Hmm.
they quickly identify two main groups of people interested in gardening in India.
Okay, who were they?
First, the passionist, which is
Yeah.
basically the hobbyists, the home gardeners.
Got it.
And second, commercial users,
Mm,
those growing plants for sale or, other business reasons.
right.
And this process itself, identifying specific user groups with shared needs, that's like a fundamental principle in so many fields, not just tech product design.
And the candidate made a specific choice then to focus on the passionist segment, the hobbyists.
Right.
Why? What was the thinking there?
Well, the thinking was that commercial growers, just because of their profession, they likely already possess a more in-depth knowledge of planting the how, what, and when, as the candidate put it.
Okay, make it.
Which is actually a really smart move when you think about focusing design efforts, especially when you're just starting out on a product.
Yeah.
It lets you tailor solutions to a specific group with maybe more clearly defined needs. And for you, the listener, if you might be just starting your gardening journey,
Right.
this focus is helpful because it mirrors that initial personal passion
Yeah.
and that need for sort of foundational knowledge.
Right.
The key insight here really is that even enthusiastic beginners often lack that fundamental knowledge, which makes targeted support crucial.
Okay, so our focus is squarely on the passionist, the home gardener in India, probably using a mobile platform. What are the main obstacles they run into? What stops them from having that thriving little bit of green?
So the candidate laid out 7 key pain points, and they really get to the heart of common gardening frustrations.
Okay, what's number one?
First, the uncertainty.
Hmm.
Just not knowing which plants will actually thrive in their local conditions, the specific weather, the soil type they have.
Oh, that's huge, right? You don't want to invest time and effort into something that's just not set up to succeed from the get-go.
Exactly. The core insight there is bridging that gap between, desire and the local reality. Successful gardening really starts with choosing the right plant for the environment.
Totally. It's like trying to bake a cake without knowing if you even have the right ingredients or if your oven works properly, you're almost guaranteed a disappointing result.
Yeah, good analogy.
What else was on their list? Secondly, a lack of visualization. Gardeners often have a hard time picturing how big a plant will actually get or what it will look like when it matures. That tiny seedling can be quite misleading.
True.
Then there's the constant question of watering. How often? How much water? It's such a delicate balance.
Ah.
And getting it wrong is a major, major reason why plants just don't make it.
Oh, I can absolutely relate to that one. Am I giving it too much?
I
I don't know. It really can feel like a complete guessing game sometimes.
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into the fourth point. Simply forgetting to water.
Ah, yes.
Life gets hectic, right? And these small but vital tasks can easily slip our minds.
Easily done.
The fifth pain point is the let's say, unwelcome appearance of plant diseases. You see something's not right, the leaves look weird,
Yeah.
but you have absolutely no clue what it is or how to fix it.
Panic mode. Is it some kind of pest? A fungus? Is my whole plant
It's
doomed?
precisely that feeling. And finally, the last two pain points they tap into our very human desire for connection and, well, information.
Sixth, the desire to share your successes and maybe even your struggles with others
Mm.
who understand the joys and challenges of gardening.
Right, finding your tribe.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And seventh, just wanting readily available information and guidance that's specific to their needs, not just generic advice.
Okay, so it's a real mix. Needing practical knowledge, wanting to avoid common mistakes, and then there's the emotional and social side of nurturing something.
Spot on.
Now, how did the candidates suggest tackling these challenges? What kind of solutions did they actually envision?
Well, the proposed solutions directly map back to those pain points, which really shows a thoughtful, user-centered approach.
Good.
So, to deal with the uncertainty about suitable plants, the idea was a feature where users could input information about their soil type and their local weather conditions.
Hmm.
And the product would then suggest plants that are actually likely to flourish there.
Oh, that's so smart. It takes the guesswork out right from the start. It really empowers even like total beginners.
Exactly. And for the lack of visualization, the solution was to show images, maybe even simulations, of how the plant would look as it grows and give an idea of the space it would need eventually.
Ah, okay. So you don't plant something tiny that turns into a monster.
Right. Helps people manage their expectations and plan their actual gardening space effectively. Then for the watering confusion,
Yeah.
the system would offer recommendations on watering frequency and quantity, but based on the local weather and humidity.
So not just some generic guideline, but something much more personalized to their specific situation at that moment.
Correct. Much more tailored. And to help with simply forgetting.
Reminders.
Simple but effective. Timely watering notifications. Just a little digital nudge at the right time.
Yep.
For the disease identification piece, the idea was pretty cool. Allow users to upload photos of their plants.
Oh, okay.
And using AI and machine learning, that's basically computers learning from tons of data
Right.
to recognize patterns the system could identify potential diseases and suggest treatments. Think of it like a smart assistant that learns from countless plant photos
Mhm.
to help you diagnose issues you might not recognize yourself.
That sounds incredibly helpful, like having a little plant expert right there in your phone to diagnose any problems.
It really does.
Yeah.
And finally, for that desire for social sharing and accessible information,
Yeah.
the proposal was to integrate this gardening product within Meta platforms,
Oh, okay.
allowing users to easily share photos of their plants, their gardens with their friends, get likes, shares, comments.
The usual social stuff.
Exactly. Plus, access to things like community forums and maybe expert tips, all within that ecosystem.
Okay, so bringing that familiar social interaction and easy access to knowledge right into the gardening experience. Now, building all of this at once, that sounds like a pretty significant undertaking.
Oh, definitely.
How did the candidates suggest prioritizing these features? You can't do everything on day one.
No, you can't. The prioritization strategy really focused on ease of implementation and the resources required. Sensible approach.
Makes sense.
The candidates suggested initially focusing on the plant suggestions, the visualizations, the watering guidance and reminders, and those social sharing features.
Right, this one.
They were seen as perhaps relatively straightforward to build compared to others, and they addressed a really large portion of the pain points identified earlier. Get the core value out first.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You want to deliver that core value quickly, get it into users' hands, and then get feedback to guide what comes next.
Precisely.
What about the plant disease identification? That sounds, I don't know, more technically complex.
It is, yeah. The candidate acknowledged that the disease ID feature, while super valuable to users, would likely need more time and resources to develop, because of the complexities of AI, machine learning, getting the data right.
Right, it's not trivial.
Not at all. So the suggestion was to potentially include it as a later addition, maybe a phase 2, if they had more time and resources down the line.
Okay.
And that demonstrates a pretty practical understanding of the trade-offs you always face in product development.
Right, you have to make choices. So launch with a strong set of core features, then iterate, add more advanced capabilities based on user feedback and, well, technical feasibility.
Exactly.
Now, how do you actually know if this hypothetical gardening product is a success? What metrics would you even look at?
Good question. The candidate proposed several key success metrics, and they were all focused on user engagement and adoption. Makes sense.
Like what?
Well, the first was simple. The number of people who used the product at least once. Just a basic measure of initial interest.
Okay, top level.
Secondly, the number of users who actually provided their soil and weather information. That shows if people are engaging with that core personalization feature, the plant suggestions.
Right, because without that specific info, the personalized advice can't really be effective, can it?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Then they suggested tracking the number of users sharing images of their gardens or plants,
Uh-huh.
as well as the number of responses,
Hmm.
likes, shares, comment per image.
Ah, the social engagement piece.
Exactly.
Hmm.
These metrics would indicate whether the product is actually fostering that sense of community and shared passion for gardening that people seem to want.
So it's not just about, like, downloading an app. It's about actively using it, getting that personalized advice, and connecting with other gardeners. Those seem like really solid indicators of whether the product is truly hitting those initial pain points.
Absolutely. It all kind of boils down to whether you're empowering those passionate gardeners to succeed and feel more connected to their hobby.
Okay, so let's really try and distill this for you, the listener. What are the key takeaways from this whole hypothetical gardening product design exercise?
I think the biggest takeaway, honestly, is that even in a hypothetical situation like an interview question, really understanding the fundamental needs of your intended audience is just crucial.
Yeah.
The candidate didn't need to be, a world-class gardening expert to identify the core frustrations that beginners face.
Mm.
That desire for tailored information, what will grow where I live, how much should I really water it,
Mm-hmm.
and the need for proactive support, like those timely reminders, those seem pretty universal.
Totally.
Plus, the power of connecting with others who share your interests, that really comes through strongly as well.
So the key takeaway for you listening is that understanding those fundamental frustrations and offering practical, tailored solutions, that's key, whether it's gardening or, frankly, any area you're trying to learn about. It's the bedrock of success.
Well said.
It really highlights that whether you're building a complex tech product or just trying to keep a single little houseplant alive on your desk,
Yeah.
focusing on those basic questions and offering accessible, practical solutions is really what matters most.
Precisely. And this actually leads to a really interesting question for you to think about, maybe mull over later.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
How might technology continue to personalize the gardening experience even beyond these initial ideas we just discussed? We've talked about plant suggestions based on location, basic care reminders, but what else could be possible down the road?
Like what? What are you thinking?
Well, could we see maybe cheap sensors you stick in the soil, providing real-time feedback directly to your phone?
Oh, interesting.
Maybe even more precise, like hyper-local weather data getting integrated into the recommendations, not just city level, but maybe even block level.
Wow, okay.
Or perhaps something like augmented reality helping you visualize how a fully mature plant will actually look in your specific living room or on your balcony before you even buy it.
That would be cool.
So yeah, just think about how these principles, understanding needs, leveraging technology for solutions, how they can be applied to other areas where you personally are looking to learn and grow. Something to ponder.